The global HVAC industry pulls in over $100 billion a year, selling machines designed to break within a decade. But 4,000 years ago, Persian builders engineered cooling from porous clay that still works. No compressor, no refrigerant, no electricity. A $50 terracotta wall that drops air temperature 27 degrees and lasts half a century. To understand why it has been sidelined, you need to know where it began. Unglazed terracotta jars, shaped by hand and fired in open kilns, first appeared across Mesopotamia and Egypt more than 4,000 years ago. Archaeological digs at Tel Atrib in the Nile Delta have uncovered porous clay vessels dating back to the 3rd millennium BCE, evidence that these simple containers were a fixture of daily life long before the rise of monumental architecture. The secret lies in the clay itself. Low-fired terracotta remains riddled with microscopic pores, allowing water to seep through the walls and evaporate on contact with moving air. This process pulls heat from the surrounding air, cooling it by several degrees with no moving parts, no fuel, and no mechanical aid. Ancient texts reinforce the physical proof. Herodotus, writing in the 5th century BCE, described Persian houses with large clay pots filled with water and placed in the walls to cool the air within. Modern experiments confirm that even a single 30-centimeter pot can drop the temperature of passing air by 4 to 6 degrees Celsius under hot, dry conditions. For ancient builders, this was more than a curiosity. It was a tactile, repeatable phenomenon, as real as the clay beneath their feet. The principle was clear: porous ceramics, water, and a breeze could tame the desert heat, one jar at a time. In the heart of the Persian desert, a structure rises from the sand, an engineering feat that dwarfs any humble clay jar. The Yakchal, first built around 400 BC, stands nearly 59 feet tall, its massive dome visible for miles. This was no simple storage shed. Beneath its curved mud brick shell, Persian engineers created a true ice factory, capable of preserving up to 12 tons of ice through months of blistering summer heat. The secret wasn't just scale, it was science. Walls up to 2 meters thick were crafted from sarouj, a lime sand mortar with a thermal conductivity of just 0.25 watts per meter Kelvin. That's less than half the heat flow of modern concrete. The dome's shape minimized sun exposure while maximizing radiative cooling at night. Air, drawn down through wind towers called badgers, swept over subterranean water pools, driving evaporation and chilling the interior. Field measurements from Yazd and Kashan show interior temperatures 30 to 40 degrees Celsius below the outside air, even when the desert scorched at 44 degrees Celsius. With no electricity, no compressors, and no refrigerants, these ancient megastructures delivered industrial-scale cooling, proof that passive design can handle even the most extreme climates. The ingenuity of collective builders, not corporate patents, made ice in the desert a reality. Across the Indian subcontinent, Mughal engineers adapted and expanded the ancient lessons of evaporative cooling. In the courts of Akbar and his successors, the Abdar Khana and Baraf Khana became central features of imperial architecture. These were not decorative follies, but serious responses to brutal summer heat. Massive brick or sandstone vaults, lined with thick layers of straw mixed with river sand, insulated the interiors from the blazing sun. In the Baraf Khanas, ice was hauled from the distant Himalayas by caravan, packed in sawdust or straw, and stored in deep shaded cellars. Court records from the late 16th century describe entire relay systems, teams of workers moving blocks of ice across hundreds of miles to cool the palaces of Agra and Delhi. The thick, moisture-rich walls slowed heat transfer, while carefully placed vents and water channels promoted air circulation and evaporation, echoing the principles of the Persian Yakchal. These structures were more than status symbols. They offered a rare measure of comfort and preservation. sustaining food, medicines, and the well-being of the imperial household. The Mughal approach, rooted in collective engineering, carried the ancient science of passive cooling directly into the fabric of South Asian life, a lineage that stretches forward to today's experiments with terracotta and evaporative design. At the height of a record-breaking summer, a factory floor in Noida, India, became a crucible for a new kind of heat crisis. Temperatures inside the electronics plant surged past 122 degrees Fahrenheit, hotter than many desert towns, and well beyond the safety threshold for workers or equipment. Air conditioning units ran at full tilt, but the relentless heat, amplified by the city's concrete sprawl and the roar of generator exhaust, left the 5,000-square-foot workspace sweltering. Fans simply pushed hot air from one end to the other. The heat island effect, common in India's rapidly urbanizing industrial zones, turned every wall into a radiator. Monish Siripurapu, an architect known for rethinking environmental design, saw the problem firsthand. The factory's energy bills were climbing, but the air inside remained stifling. Instead of reaching for a bigger chiller, Monish looked to the past. He proposed a radical experiment, a wall built not from glass or steel, but from terracotta. 4 meters tall and 2 meters wide, this new facade would not just block sunlight, it would breathe. The idea was deceptively simple. Harness the same physics that cooled ancient Persian and Indian homes, but scale it up for modern industry. In the face of a crisis that conventional technology couldn't solve, necessity forced a leap into forgotten science. Water climbs through the terracotta wall by capillary action, a force so subtle it's almost invisible, yet powerful enough to keep the entire surface wet, even under a blazing sun. Each terracotta tube, fired at 900 degrees Celsius and packed with 36.8% porosity, acts like a network of microscopic straws. These pores wick water up from the base, delivering a steady supply to the surface at a rate measured at 18 grams per minute per square meter. As the water spreads, the honeycomb pattern of the wall comes into play. Instead of flat panels, the tubes are stacked in a lattice that multiplies the exposed surface area by a factor of 3.5, turning every inch into an evaporative engine. When hot air is drawn through the wall, it accelerates to about 1 meter per second as it squeezes through the narrow passages. This sudden rush creates the Venturi effect, dropping the pressure and ramping up evaporation. The honeycomb geometry does not just look striking, it spins the air into tiny, chaotic eddies, forcing every molecule into contact with the wet clay. The result is a dramatic transfer of heat from air to water, all without a single moving part. The science is as old as the material itself. Porosity and shape combine to strip heat from the air, delivering a cooling effect that modern machines struggle to match without massive energy input. The numbers from Noida leave little room for doubt. When Monish's terracotta wall went live, the factory's indoor temperature plunged from 122 degrees Fahrenheit to 97, a measured drop of 27 degrees. The air, once thick and stifling, became bearable, even as the city outside broiled under the sun. But the cooling wasn't just felt, it was counted. Power meters showed the system pulling just 0.63 kilowatt hours per hour, a fraction of what the old air conditioning units demanded. The monthly electricity bill, once a punishing $450, shrank to $140 after the wall was installed. That's an 80% cut in energy use, achieved without compressors, refrigerants, or scheduled maintenance. The wall's only moving part was a small recirculating pump, drawing less power than a laptop charger. And unlike conventional HVAC units, which need replacement every decade, the terracotta modules are projected to last 50 years or more. For the first time in decades, a modern building had matched, and in some ways surpassed, the performance of ancient cooling systems using nothing but clay, water, and air. The hard data stands as a quiet rebuke to the idea that comfort must come at a steep, ongoing cost. The global HVAC industry generates more than $100 billion in annual revenue, with nearly a third coming from ongoing service contracts, refrigerant sales, and replacement parts. This business model depends on systems that require regular maintenance and predictable failure, compressors that burn out, filters that clog, refrigerants that leak, and must be refilled. In stark contrast, the terracotta cooling wall in Noida delivered a 27-degree temperature drop and slashed energy use by 80%, all with a projected service life of 50 years and no moving parts to replace. Yet these durable, low-tech solutions remain almost invisible in modern building codes. The American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers, ASHRAE, has no clear category for porous, evaporative clay walls, and the International Building Code offers no pathway for their approval. The regulatory gap leaves passive cooling systems sidelined, while the market rewards products that guarantee steady, recurring income for manufacturers and service providers. The stakes are measured not just in dollars, but in the continued dominance of energy-hungry, short-lived technology over simple, lasting alternatives. A weekend and about $50 is all it takes to build a terracotta cooling wall that can drop indoor temperatures by 5 to 7 degrees Celsius without a single compressor or refrigerant. Start with 10 unglazed terracotta tubes, each about 30 centimeters long. Arrange them vertically in a tight honeycomb stack, using a simple wooden or metal frame to keep them stable. At the base, fit a shallow tray or reservoir to hold water. A small 12-volt submersible pump, rated at just 5 watts, is enough to circulate water from the tray up through the tubes. For off-grid operation, connect the pump to a 20-watt solar panel. As the water seeps through the porous clay, capillary action keeps every surface damp. When hot air passes through the tubes, it accelerates, triggering the Venturi effect and boosting evaporation. The result is a steady stream of cooled air, with measured drops of up to 7 degrees Celsius in dry climates. Maintenance consists of topping up water and checking the pump, nothing else. This is cooling you can build, repair, and trust to last for decades, with no energy bills or scheduled breakdowns. Right now, a $50 terracotta wall can slash indoor heat by 27 degrees Fahrenheit, cut energy use up to 80%, and last half a century, yet remain sidelined by profit-driven interests. The science is proven. The barriers aren't technical. So who benefits when millions keep sweating and paying? What do you think?